Hawaii's ranching story began long ago when British Captain George Vancouver gifted Kamehameha I 6 cattle, 4 cows and 2 bulls, in 1793. Those cattle multiplied quickly on the islands. By the mid-1800s, King Kamehameha III had even invited Mexican vaqueros to teach native Hawaiians how to ride and rope. From that blending of cultures sprang the Paniolo, Hawaii's own cowboys, who developed a unique ranching tradition, complete with Hawaiian-style saddles, cowboy songs on slack-key guitar, and colorful Paniolo parades. Over the next 2 centuries, Hawaii's cattle operations evolved with sustainability and aloha in mind. Today we saddle up and count down the top 5 cattle ranches across the islands, focusing on their size, production, beef quality, and how they honor Hawaii's ranching legacy.
Kualoa Ranch, Oahu. On Oahu's lush windward side sits Kualoa Ranch, a 4,000-acre private nature reserve and working cattle ranch. Tucked between Emerald Mountains and a sparkling Kaneohe Bay, Kualoa raises roughly 600 head of cattle. These are predominantly Angus steers that graze 100% on pasture, making Kualoa one of the few fully grass-fed beef operations in Hawaii. The ranch uses managed rotational grazing to keep its pastures healthy, letting cattle cycle through small paddocks so vegetation can recover. This mix of grassland and forest helps balance farming with conservation. In short, Kualoa's cattle roam like the early Paniolo, moving freely across diverse terrain, living on open grass, and receiving no added hormones. In terms of market, Kualoa sells its beef under the Kualoa Grown label. The ranch provides grass-fed beef to local restaurants and farm shops on Oahu, and it also offers farm tours and dinners, so visitors can taste local beef straight from Hawaii's pastures. Any extra calves are sold to other Hawaii ranchers, helping share beef across islands. Kualoa has been a family operation since 1850. Dr. Garrett P. Judd, a missionary doctor and advisor to Kamehameha III, bought the original Kualoa land in 1850, and today 8 generations of the Judd family still own the ranch. In fact, the ranch is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, reflecting its long heritage of stewarding this land. With the sun setting behind Kualoa's verdant cliffs, we saddle up and head to the next island, continuing our countdown at number 4.
Molokai Ranch, Molokai. Crossing the channel to Molokai, we find Molokai Ranch, also known as Molokai Land and a Ranch Co. Spanning roughly 30,000 acres of Molokai's dry uplands, this ranch supports about 1,000 head of cattle. In recent years, Molokai Ranch shifted from exporting calves to finishing beef entirely on island. Today, it raises and finishes 100% grass-fed, hormone-free Angus beef on Molokai, marketing the idea of true ranch-to-table island beef. The cattle spend their lives on native grasses, which means the beef is leaner with higher omega-3s than typical grain-fed beef. Molokai Ranch is even breeding Wagyu cattle for an added gourmet twist. Working with University of Hawaii's agricultural specialists, the ranch has begun artificially inseminating some cows with full-blood Japanese Wagyu semen. In a few years, those pure Wagyu steers will deliver top-tier Kobe-style beef right from Molokai pastures, enhancing the ranch's reputation for quality. On the market side, Molokai Ranch is helping build local processing capacity. In 2014, the company began processing about 10 head of cattle per month at the island's USDA-inspected cooperative slaughterhouse, Molokai Livestock Cooperative, with plans to double that. By keeping the entire production chain on Molokai, raising, finishing, and butchering the beef locally, the ranch is keeping profits and jobs on the island. In their words, buying back calves from other Molokai ranchers, which otherwise would ship to the mainland, is a win-win, supporting all local beef producers while growing the supply of homegrown beef. Across the channel to Maui, we find our number 3 ranch, Haleakala Ranch, Maui. Haleakala Ranch, also called Haleakala Co., is Maui's oldest and largest cattle operation. Founded in 1888 on the slopes of Haleakala volcano, it covers roughly 29,000 acres of pasture. Over 1,200 brood cows graze Maui's upcountry, mostly black and red Angus, as well as a few Maine Anjou. Haleakala Ranch is well known for sustainable stewardship. It won a Regional Environmental Stewardship Award for efforts like controlling invasive plants and protecting native watershed areas on its property. A key story here is keeping Maui beef local. In 2002, Haleakala Ranch joined with 5 other family ranches on Maui, Ulupalakua, Hana, Kaupo, Nobrega, and one other, to form Maui Cattle Company, a cooperative meant to shorten the distance from paddock to plate. The goal was to avoid the old pattern of selling calves off-island for finishing. Thanks to this effort, Haleakala and its partners mostly stopped shipping cattle to the mainland. As of 2018, they hadn't sent a single Maui-grown calf off-island in nearly a decade. Instead, Haleakala Ranch finishes its own beef on Maui, feeding cattle locally for higher quality and keeping revenue in the island's economy. Haleakala Ranch beef is regarded as high quality. Most lots grade USDA choice for its good marbling and flavor on Maui grass. The ranch practices rotational grazing on its vast range and also helps manage the ecosystem. For example, it organizes access deer hunts to protect pasture forage. In all, Haleakala's 130-year legacy and scale make it a cornerstone of Hawaiian ranching. It blends the old Paniolo tradition, family ownership, cowboy crews, and upcountry rodeos, with modern ranch science like ag-check technology and pastures management. Now to the Big Island's Kohala region for number 2. Kahua Ranch, island of Hawaii. Kahua Ranch sits high on the Kahala Mountains of Hawaii Island, spanning around 2,100 acres in 6 climate zones. It runs roughly 2,000 head of cattle, about 1,000 mother cows at a time, making it one of the state's largest herds. By contrast, at its mid-20th century peak, Kahua covered some 500,000 acres with 30,000 cattle. Its current size is smaller, but still substantial. Kahua's herd is primarily beef cattle. The ranch originally ran Herefords, but today most cows are Angus Charolais crosses. Uniquely, Kahua also maintains a certified Wagyu breeding program. Its full-blood Wagyu cattle are fed on Molokai-style grass pastures and finished slowly to produce ultra-marbled tender steaks. Wagyu fat has a higher proportion of heart-healthy, unsaturated fat than typical beef. Kahua sells this Wagyu beef to gourmet buyers. It consistently meets USDA prime grading. For the regular Angus herd, ranchers select genetics for easy calving and adaptability to Kahala's steep terrain. Sustainability is a major focus at Kahua. The ranch uses no added hormones or antibiotics in its cattle. It pioneered holistic, high-density rotational grazing, moving cows often to intensively graze small paddocks and then resting the land. This practice builds soil health, water retention, and plant diversity on their slopes, countering erosion and drought. Kahua notes that careful grazing has rejuvenated their pasture lands, making them more resilient and species-rich than open-range grazing. On the market side, Kahua Ranch sells all of its beef and lamb within Hawaii. The grass-fed Angus beef and merino lamb are available at local outlets. For example, the Wima Butcher Shop carries Kahua beef, and local restaurants like Village Burgers serve Kahua burgers. By focusing on high-quality grass-finished beef and added-value lamb products, Kahua supports the state's push for local food. In short, Kahua Ranch today embodies the Paniolo spirit. It honors its history while running a modern, eco-friendly ranch that feeds Hawaii's tables. And finally, topping our list is an iconic name with a colossal legacy.
Parker Ranch, island of Hawaii. Parker Ranch in Waimea on Hawaii Island is famous far beyond the islands. Established in 1847, it is not only Hawaii's largest cattle ranch, but one of the biggest in the United States. Spread over roughly 130,000 acres of volcanic grasslands, Parker Ranch today manages about 9,000 head of cattle. The ranch runs primarily Angus and Charolais stock, raising and weaning calves on its rich pasture. Parker even has its own beef brand, Parker Ranch 1847, beef that is born and raised on the ranch, grass-fed and finished locally. Parker Ranch has long been at the forefront of sustainable ranching. It pioneered low-stress livestock handling and intensive rotational grazing on Hawaii's unique terrain. More recently, Parker Ranch is investing in renewable energy for the island.
It partnered on the 30-megawatt Haleakala solar project on ranch land with battery storage to power about 15,000 island homes with clean energy. These sustainability initiatives, solar plus projects like reforestation, align with the ranch's mission to support its community and reduce carbon emissions. In recognition of its stewardship, Parker Ranch won the 2025 National Beef Quality Assurance Cow-Calf Award for exemplary animal care and land management. When it comes to market impact, Parker Ranch is a powerhouse. Parker is owned by a charitable trust, with proceeds funding local hospitals, schools, and nonprofits, and it also co-founded a branded beef company. In partnership with the Ulupano Initiative, Parker launched the Paniolo Cattle Company, producing premium grass-fed beef from Parker and neighboring herds. Today, Paniolo Cattle Co. beef is sold in major grocery stores across Hawaii, including Safeway locations in Hilo and Kona. This venture helps keep more Hawaii-raised beef in-state. Parker Ranch further supports local processing. It part owns and supplies the island's largest slaughterhouses, so that nearly 30% of Hawaii's cattle can now be harvested on the Big Island instead of shipping mainland. In other words, Parker Ranch is helping rebuild the full farm-to-table system in Hawaii. Historically, Parker Ranch is woven into Hawaii's Paniolo lore. Waimea hosts a life-size statue of Ikula, Purdy, a Parker cowboy who won the 1908 steer roping championship in Cheyenne, Wyoming, ridden alongside Archie Kaua and Jack Lowe. Today, Parker maintains one of the country's largest private horse operations, over 2,200 horses and mules for work and team roping. It also hosts an annual 4th of July rodeo, a Paniolo parade, and a heritage center celebrating cowboy crafts. For 175 years, generations of Parker Paniolos have wrangled cattle much as their mentors did, on horse and horseback, wearing leis and kaka, flowered cowboy hats, proving the old saying is true: there's more to Hawaii than palm trees up on those ranches. With that, we conclude our ride through Hawaii's ranches. Each of these 5 operations, from the movie-set valleys of Kualoa, Oahu, to the volcanic pastures of Parker Ranch, carries on a rich legacy of sustainable cattle ranching in the islands. They show how aloha, environmental care, and old-world cowboy grit can combine in the tropics.